Hey everybody, it's Allie Edwards and welcome back. This is my final episode or final video in my Storytelling with Stamps series for this particular season. This page starts off with a silhouette cutout, and I've saved this as a silhouette file and as a PNG for you guys in case anybody wants to use this particular file. What it says along the top is, "Dear kids, find your voice, own your story, just be you, love me." And this one, I'm creating this as the kind of foundation or the background for my page, and then I'm actually going to be stamping on top of it using the Love is Love stamp from the Love is Love new 6x8 stamp set. And you can see what I'm doing right now is I'm pulling off. I didn't get my settings precisely right with my silhouette this time. And so in this particular project, I probably cut the same page a few times. I haven't used my silhouette for a while, so it's always kind of that learning curve when you jump back into it again. Every time I use it, I always think, man, I always love this. Why do I not use it more? That's kind of the thought process. But I wanted to have this be the title, and I wasn't sure exactly if I was going to put something behind it, how it was going to end up. You'll see kind of my journey here with this particular project. Starts out where I stamp all over the top of this page, and then I end up reprinting this or recutting this again on the silhouette so that I have a white top, or the portion where the words are cut out there is in white, and then I put a photo collage behind it. So I knew that I wanted to do repeat stamping to create a background. I knew that I wanted to write some specific things to my kids about finding their own voice and owning their own story. And it's something that we're working on around here with our teenagers too. So this was definitely something that I wanted to include on here. And I always love the opportunity and the invitation to write specifically to the kids and to have words of encouragement or words of acknowledgement. That's a big piece of the way that I like to do memory keeping. So you can see here that I'm using my 6-hole punch to punch holes there. I could have added the holes actually with the silhouette. That would have been something that I could have done, but just adding them there at the end. Again, this page is size 7 inches wide by 8 1/4 tall. Now here you can see where I'm doing the repeat stamping, creating a pattern background. I'm using 2 of Tim Holtz Distress Oxide inks and then 2 of our AED Crafters inks. I'm using Columbia and Olympia. Those are the 2 that I'm using. And then those Distress Oxides I'll link below. I think that they are, let's see, I saw Stormy Sky and Weathered Wood. And I'm just repeat stamping all over the entire page there, all over the background. Like I said, I end up redoing the top part again later on, but I do keep this as the background. And the other thing that I thought about doing with this is I wanted to create a pocket. So I'm taking a piece of graphics plastic. This is the thicker plastic, not the one that I run through the computer. And I am cutting it in order to stitch it directly onto that background page. I'm going to take it over to my sewing machine. I'm going to stitch around 3 edges so that I can create a pocket which will hold tags. And my tags one of them has a title on it and one of them has journaling. And you'll see a little bit more about that in a minute. I use a Brother sewing machine that I've had for a long time now, and I don't know anything about my settings other than just making it work. I also went into my chipboard pieces to see if there was one that I could add on the outside of the pocket. This is before I even worked on the actual tags that were going to go in the inside, but I liked the Right Now chipboard piece from the Currently kit, so that's going to end up going on the outside. When I reorganized a bunch of my supplies recently, I gathered together a variety of tags that we have had in past kits, and so that's what you're seeing me pull out now. Some of these were from Day in the Life a couple years ago, and the other ones are from, I believe, the one of the One Little Word mini kits or the One Little Word main kit over the last couple of years. I end up using 2 of these. I trim them down so that they're about 4 inches tall in order to fit in the pocket. You can see I'm measuring it there. The other thing that I decided to do too was I went over to my computer and I typed up the story that I wanted to actually write, and that ended up getting printed on a transparency that I will attach onto the tag. So there you can see that. That's the printable transparency. I measured it and sized it to the size of the tag. And this is what I wrote on there. I said, "Bring on the unlearning. I'm thinking about you kids so much as we navigate the season of life together. I'm working on being a better parent through therapy and getting curious and being intentional and being open to learning new ways of what a parent-child relationship can look like. Thank you for sharing your lives with us. Thank you for also being open and willing to try different things and learning to advocate for yourself along the way. Let's keep trying and keep talking and staying open together." So that's what I ended up typing up and printing on the transparency that's going to be attached onto this tag. At first I was going to put it on the side with the dots, but I ended up putting it on the other side because I felt like it was, you could read it better. I'm using a We Are Memory Keepers hole punch to punch a hole in there, and then I'm going to be grabbing some ribbon that I have in my stash, a couple different Grosgain, I can't even think of it. Ribbon. Anyway, I'll link it for you guys. It's from Amazon, and I'm using like a gray piece and a white piece that you'll see in a minute here. For the other tag, the one with the X's and O's, I decided I wanted to use a felt ampersand piece that was from the Ampersand story kit, and there you can see that gray ribbon getting pulled through the first tag there. I always like to staple it if I am not. Sometimes I don't like to tie it. The tying can become too bulky. So in this case, I fold it over and then staple it on there. And then you can see that journaling tag placed inside. I grabbed a couple of foam thickers. I ordered some of these recently too from scrapbook.com and adding those on. I'm putting an E and an M. That is for Edwards and McKercher. Those are our two last names that we have here in this household. It was really fun to play with those thickers again. It's been a while since I've used any of those, and I had all kinds of past scrapbooking vibes using them again, and they made me really happy adding them to this particular tag. I'm also going to add some foam adhesive underneath that ampersand to hold that in place, and then I'm going to end up adding one of the sentiments or one of the quotes from the Allie phrases, the 4x6 phrases stamp set that says, "Let your faith be bigger than your fear." Seemed very relevant to the story that I was telling here. A little bit of white ribbon going through that tag there. Again, I'm going to staple that in place and trim the top just a little bit. I always like to do that when I'm cutting or adding ribbon onto tags or ribbon onto anywhere there. All right, next up, I was looking in my stash of stuff and I had a bunch of perforated word phrases, and I thought about adding them first onto the E and M tag, but then I end up adding it on top of my journaling, and it says, "Here's some good stuff happening." I'm not sure which story kit that was from, but or if it was Week in the Life, but it has gold foil on white, and then I'm just adding that there to the top of the tag, just a little bit of a title, I think a little bit of something extra along with the journaling that is on there below that. I had so much fun working on this one, really, as it was coming together. It was fun to have it be interactive. It was fun to have all of these different little embellishments happening. Here's where I'm stamping that "Let your faith be bigger than your fear." I'm going to stamp it just on white cardstock and then cut that out and adhere it directly on top of the E and the M and the ampersand there. Just doing it on white cardstock with StazOn ink and then cutting it out to add a little title. I loved those words with the journaling that I have happening here. And I just used rolling adhesive on top of that. You can also see here where I printed or recut on the silhouette my title again. Like I said, I was having trouble with the settings, getting it just right. It was like sometimes it was not cut deep enough, other times it was cut too deep, and then it was messing with all the letters. Anyway, that was part of the adventure of this one. But here you can see I'm just pulling out the letters where they needed to be pulled out, and then I'm going to cut it. Actually, you can see where I did that on the other one. Cut it just below the words there, just below the quote, so that I can put it on top of the space that was stamped. I just felt like I wanted it to be white. I wanted it to not have all of the pattern on top. All right, after I got that one all situated, I had gone to my computer and I printed out a collage of photos of the 5 kids that are here in our house. And I sized this in order to have it fit directly behind my cutout silhouette cut there. And I love that because you can see little pieces of each one of them behind there. And it's a collage of photos. I actually don't end up adhering it across the top, so you can kind of pull it back to see the photo behind there too if you want to. I kind of thought about, were there ways that I could make it an opening page or like a second page, and I decided I didn't want to make it a second page, so I have it adhered along the bottom, and you'll see that in a little bit. I actually end up stitching or running through the sewing machine the top part there, and with the photo as well. After I get it adhered on there, I just make a line across the bottom of the white cardstock there. So I'm just kind of moving things around, still trying to think that through of how did I want it, but that's where I adhere it down, and then I'm going to take it over to my sewing machine and do a stitch right along the bottom section there, and you'll be able to see, you can see that in a second here too. Punching some more holes, I think is what I was doing there. Yeah, the holes that needed to come back along the top by the silhouette cutout. It's a lot of videos, guys. It's been super fun. Thank you for hanging out with me this week or over the last 9 days as I've shared a variety of different projects using the different stamps that we had released. I love starting with stamps, and that's what I did with each one of these, was just knowing that I was going to use stamps as a piece of the process to support and get my story told. So it's been fun to play with all of those and have them be jumping off points for the stories. So there I'm adding on that chipboard piece. I actually end up adding in the end, and I think you'll see this in the photos, another one of those little tabs from the May Stories by the Month kit. I add that right above the Right Now chipboard piece. So I get that in place, and I end up doing that off camera there. Oh yeah, there I went and stitched it along the edge, and I thought about adhering it on top, and then I decided not to. Sticking those tags right inside the pocket. It's just such a cute and fun page. I love it, especially as something that's going to be, live outside of the page protectors in my album. And then I made sure that I added a date stamp there along the edge, and that's pretty much it for this one. As always, if you guys have questions, let me know in the comments below. Again, the die cut for the silhouette file for this one is on today's blog post. And thanks so much for being here for my Storytelling with Stamps series. We'll do this again in the future after a future release.